Hello, Dave here with Organic Gardening in North Carolina. It is November the 14th. Thought it's time for a garden tour for November. So let's turn the camera around and get started. Okay, here's the lower end of the garden. Here's where I'm expanding the garden. So I planted a cover crop of vetch and icicle radishes. It's doing really well. I'll cut that under in the springtime. Then I'll probably put manure and wood chips on top of that to give a good start on some nitrogen. Let's see, here's some icicle radishes in this bed. Also put some Swiss chard here. And these are onions that I planted bulbs for. I believe this is arugula. Here's the bed that I just did recently. I made a video of planting this garlic. This is the garlic from the bulbs, and the garlic from the top sides is starting to come up too. The garlic that I had where the blooms were also made little like seed pods, so we planted those. My brother said that those will grow into fully formed garlic cloves also. I did plant Good King Henry here, which I'm not expecting that to come up till springtime because it needs the cold weather to sprout. Then I also got perpetual spinach and something else that I planted. I'll have to look at that video to see what I planted. So there's, I believe this is the perpetual spinach. And that's something else that I planted. I forget what that was. I'll have to look at the video. Then down below I got some kale coming up. Here's my Hugelkultur beds. Some Swiss chard at the bottom here. Arugula. Cilantro. More Swiss chard. Look at the other Hugel bed. I've got a lot of lettuce growing in this one. This was a mesclun mix. There's some cilantro too. Kale. I've been having some cabbage worms eating my kale, as you can see. I just come out here and squish them. Usually you can see where they're at because it'll have little balls of poop underneath where they're at. They're hard to spot though because they're about the same color as the Swiss chard. I do see some little balls of poop there, but they're tiny, tiny little balls. I don't know if you'll even be able to see that on the camera, but I don't see any worms. So it's possible some birds came by and got them. That's what I love to see happen. All right. Here's my comfrey bouncing back from where I chopped it off to plant that bed over there. Looks like I also planted some radishes up there on that hill. Some cilantro. All kinds of good stuff. I only had one of my gourd plants that made it, and I don't think it's going to produce anything because it's too late in the season, and I don't even know what that is. It looks like, because I planted a mixture of gourds, I'm thinking that might be like one of those big, long, huge gourds. But like I said, it probably won't produce anything because we're getting too close to frost. We've only had one killing frost so far, and that was just a really light one. So basically everything is still going strong. My raised bed, I haven't done much with it this summer, but it has some Egyptian spinach, which I replanted numerous times because I think I had a rabbit eating it. There's Swiss chard from last year. Onions from Ray at Praxis. It's a carrot I could pull up at any point. I planted some popcorn. Let's pull in here off and take a look at it. Yes. That will pop very well. I'll probably take that in and pop it next time I have the grandkids over. They love to shell it. You just rub along the cob and the corn pops off. I actually saw this marketed in a store where you can just put it in the microwave on the cob and it'll pop. So that would be an interesting way to do it too, I suppose. Here is my red Malabar spinach. I put that probably 7-foot tall trellis, and this is the one that I picked heavily. It still has a lot of leaves on it. It also has a lot of seed pods. You can see the seed pods there. Got tons of seed pods. I'm almost thinking it went to seed more heavily because I did pick it more heavily. I weeded about a wheelbarrow load of, I guess it would be crabgrass or Bermuda grass out of my raspberries, and I just threw my whole compost pile on there today, and I transplanted some plants that were on the fringe back into the middle of the plot, so hopefully it'll fill in the areas. I believe I killed them by putting wood ashes on here because wood ashes lowered the pH too quickly for it. There's sunflowers still left on this Mexican sunflower, but I chopped most of the plant down because it was dying. I planted a row of kale there today. I don't know if that's gonna produce anything or not. Depends how cold a winter we have. Still have peppers producing. They seem like they start producing right about when it's time for them to die. And I even have a red one down there that I'm letting get big and go to seed. So I'll have some seeds. So yeah, my pepper plants really just seem like they're starting to come alive now. My tomato plants are gone on this trellis. My asparagus was mostly dead, so I chopped it down and piled it on top. There are a couple green sprigs still here, so I'll leave them to grow as long as they want to. I weeded this raised bed a little bit, uncovered some lettuce and arugula and cilantro. There's a big cilantro plant. It's a couple carrots over here, but I just brought you over here to show you my fig tree that I took a cutting and put it in the ground. There's one here, and then one over here that has a little bud on it right there. So I don't know if that'll make it through the winter and sprout more in the spring or not. Here's my Jerusalem artichokes. Those babies were probably 15 feet tall this summer. The problem is I don't see very many tubers on the bottom of them. Last year I was digging them up and finding big tubers. It may be because we had such a drought this year that the tubers aren't very big. But I dug a little bit on the edges here, and I did find a couple. But like I said, they're not very big. Maybe when I dig under there more, under the big stalks more, I'll find other ones that were big. But last year I had the same amount of plants, maybe even less plants, and I got a whole shopping bag full of tubers. that I ate some, and I planted a whole bunch, and I gave some away too to a farmer on the other side of town, one of my friends. I also had problems getting my Egyptian spinach going this year because of the rabbits. But this is the plant that I got that's producing lots of seed pods, so I'll be able to plant it again next year. And I think I got my fence fixed so the bunnies aren't going to be getting in here. Here's the fall garden beds that I did a video on, that I put comfrey leaves under and planted. I just thinned that out a lot today. See, I got some white icicle radishes in here too. Got some kale. You can see that the worms have been taking it to this kale too. I just uncovered this from weeds today. Or not weeds, but more too many plants. So I have to keep an eye on and pick the worms off of it better. Here's a row of cilantro. More Swiss chard, which I'll need to thin and eat as I thin it. Some more peppers. Like I said, these pepper plants are really starting to put on the peppers now that it's about time to quit. I think they like the cool, wetter weather. There's some jalapeno peppers over here too. When they're red like that, red and crinkled, they're really hot. There's horseradish. My worm bin that I just harvested most of the castings, but I left a pile on top so that the worms could migrate down into it. But you can still see that there's a bunch of worms in there if you turn it up a little bit. But that's some great compost. It's my broccoli. See, the heads are starting to form down in the middle there. And you can also see that the cabbage worms have been eating them. I picked a lot of them off of here. I should get my Bonner soap out and do a little spray on them. There's probably the biggest head I have so far. They're coming along nicely though. I do have a couple tomatoes still hanging on. And I have an okra here that I'm letting go to seed. The okra also got a late start this year, so I didn't really get a whole lot. I put some compost over my strawberry bed, so hopefully the strawberries will come out strong next year. My marigolds did quite well. Kept the bugs away from the tomatoes well. Here's my other Mexican sunflowers, the ones that are more yellow. And I chopped most of this bush down. The surprise I got was when I looked in the back, I found a red Malabar spinach plant growing. So look at the leaves on that. They're huge. I didn't ever pick under here because it was under the Mexican sunflower. But those leaves are huge. Be able to make some good smoothies from those leaves. I'm not expecting it to take any frost at all either. That vine actually comes from way over there. So the vine goes up this way. That's all Malabar spinach in that mass there. So the vine goes up and it goes to the other side, which is where we've been picking that because that's real easy to get to. So we've picked that a lot. And there's a lot of seed pods over there. Then there is another vine that goes this way. So all this Malabar spinach is on two separate plants. Okay, there's catnip. Have to take some of that in for the cat. It's looking really good. Only other thing I wanted to show you was my other garden bed that I put some fall and winter crops in around the cherry tree, and it is doing great. I've got radishes around the edge. I may have put some daikon radishes around the edge because they're pretty huge. Look at that one there and that one there. I think I did put a couple of daikon radishes and then some regular white icicles. I don't think those are regular white icicles because they're so big. Then I have the mesclun mix around there of lettuces. This is a mustard spinach green. I've got kale planted in here. These are my largest kales. I've been harvesting these and doing smoothies with them. Then in the middle, I've got Swiss chard, which I'm gonna need to thin soon. But it's a multicolored one. You got the red ones, the white ones, yellow ones. Let me get a picture of the yellow. There's the yellow. And I'll go around here to get the white. There's the white stemmed. I'm having a hard time seeing because it's so sunny. This kale is more of a straight leaf rather than a curled leaf. The curled leaf is, I believe, more of a Russian kale variety. Right there. Do you see anything funny about those leaves? Well, guess what? It has the worms on there. See right there? Like I said, they're hard to see. But I see, like, I pulled 2 off of there. And that's all I see. The leaf doesn't really look like it's torn up, so they must have just got there. Must have moved into a new location. Alright, that's it for November. I will see you next month. Until then, y'all have a blessed day.